Hi guys, it's Rob Marenghi here. I hope you're doing well. Today I want to talk to you about what pisses me off about advertising. Now, I'm going to start with this quote that I read in university, doing a essentially useless to me degree in media and cultural studies. The quote was, "Advertising steals your happiness off you and offers it back to you for the price of the product." I'll say that again. Advertising steals your happiness off you and offers it back to you for the price of the product. Now, this isn't a naive slam of all kinds of promotion or marketing or, how would we have heard of Bob Dylan or Mozart even, or Dali or Game of Thrones or Radiohead or That Play That Goes Wrong or the Book of Mormon, etc., without some kind of promotion and advertising. This isn't a slander of that. This isn't a naive capitalism is totally evil video. This is addressed at the very insidious techniques employed by the very insidious people in commercial advertising, in television and magazines and elsewhere. A friend of mine works on curing TB with mathematical modeling. Much smarter than I am. Great guy called Sean. He was telling me he went to a national health conference, and a lot of the speakers and the main speaker announced the fact that by far the biggest health issue in either the country or the world, or maybe you can extrapolate from the country to the world, maybe not, I don't know, England, is the mental health of young women because of media, advertising, magazines, music videos, stuff like that. So, let me think of an example. I can't remember which bank it was, but nothing is sacred to these people, these creatives. By the way, I'm moving very slowly because it looks like you've got post-hallucinogenic perceptual disorder when I do this, or it makes me look like a ghost or something. So I'll try and keep that to a minimum. The latest thing is in a piece. There was a big billboard or picture with someone sat meditating, and finding a peace with Halifax or Barclays or whoever it was. The same thing, the most sacred, transcendent elements of the human experience. They shamelessly use and exploit to sell you stuff that you don't need, you probably don't even want, you're just being tricked into it, and stuff that is often bad for you. Ronald McDonald being the class clown in that particular room. And people are paid millions, these slow hands creatives, to come up with these ways of psychologically manipulating you into buying bullshit. Okay? And they do it at the expense of the most vulnerable people in the society, as evidenced by the topic at the mental health conference. At the health conference. It wasn't even a mental health conference. The biggest health problem is the mental health of young women because of media, advertising, music videos, magazines, newspapers, page 3 perhaps. Yes, they're paid millions to think of ways to manipulate people and make them feel bad and offer a phony silver bullet solution, dangle that in front of their nose, and they go off with millions and presumably a bad conscience, which they cover up with alcohol and cocaine, which they can afford because they're so well paid. And you, the consumer, again, this isn't about everything, but I'm sure you've all seen adverts like this. You, the consumer, is left with a very, very short-term, empty, hollow happiness when you have the latest sofa that's, only £899, reduced from £999. So, in a nutshell, you have very rich creatives who are often artistic in temperament, open people, open to experience people, intelligent people. This is beautifully summed up in George Orwell's book, Keep the Aspidistra Flying, where it's about this skint writer who resists all these offers, well, all these offers, but he resists sliding into the kind of corporate business advertising world right until the end of the book. And the aspidistra was considered at the time, so the mid 1900s, as like a symbol of middle class achievement or middle class status. Keep the aspidistra flying. And in the end, he gives up the writing and rationalizes it to himself, and buys an aspidistra plant. Yeah, that's a beautiful summary of the situation. So, what else don't I like about advertising? Oh yeah, I don't like the way that almost invariably the narrator sounds like she's talking to a very young child, and not even talking respectfully to the very young child. Almost every advert, you listen out for it. What would be an example? Say they're trying to flog you. They're trying to flog you a drink, some sugary, factory farm cow milk filled shit that's just gonna give you diabetes and rot your teeth, but put a bit of sweetener in it and it's addictive. And they'll associate that with an emotion, happiness, say, and it'll be, why don't you find happiness with new Nesquik, blah, 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 or that kind of tone. In fact, the Coca-Cola, which if you examine it is essentially poison for the human body. I think their slogan was literally recently just happiness. And apparently Santa Claus, Father Christmas, is only red because of the Coca-Cola adverts. So you have these supposedly benevolent figures. I guess Santa Claus has got less on his fictitious conscience than Ronald McDonald. But you have, in both cases, you've got a clown, and then you have a sort of deity who can travel the world in a night and give everyone presents. They are presented as the ultimate guardian of children, to entertain and look after and keep children safe. All the while created for and being used for, in the case of McDonald's, specifically aimed at children, which is really disgusting, I think. All the while poisoning our young people and giving them the lethargy and the skin problems and the breath problems and the addiction to the stuff problems. So again, this isn't an attack on all advertising or promotion or marketing. I'm a music artist myself. I give everything away for free, but I do promote myself. I try and do it ethically. There's always a slight, grain of salt in the. There's always a slight fly in the ointment when you feel like you have to self-aggrandize a bit and use quotes people have said about you and toot your own horn, blow your own trumpet. I'm slightly uncomfortable about that. Maybe it's a British thing as well. So yes, the last thing was they treat you like your children. As you can probably tell, I don't make any notes or scripts for these videos. So if I stare off into space, it's not out of pretense. It's because I really don't know what I'm going to say next. So I'll try not to ramble too much. So to go back to the start, adverts steal your happiness off you and offer it back to you for the price of the product. It's not just a car you're buying. If you buy a BMW, whatever, the way it's presented, it's status, it's masculinity, it's glamour, it's fame, it's wealth, the elephant in the room, it's sex. There's that wonderful documentary, several hours long, The Century of the Self, exploring the origins of, among other things, advertising. And it was talking about how advertisers aimed cigarettes at women, because at the time, women was a suffragette movement, women getting the vote, being emancipated in all kinds of ways. I personally think in Western society, women have it as good as, if not better than, men. You might think that's naive, patriarchal hyperbole, but you're twice as likely to get some academic jobs if you're women. There are far more doctors who are women than men. I work in education, far more female educators. The assistant head is a woman, the head of 3 schools is a woman, the Prime Minister is a woman. Not doing all that bad. I actually lost my thread on that one. I got so caught up in the matriarchy. No, the thread has gone. But when that happens, I find it's okay. No, that was it. Suffragettes, Century of the Self, sex. Advertisers paid psychiatrists a lot of money to find out how to market cigarettes to women. And the whole thing, if you look at adverts at the time, in the 50s and 60s, it was like a strong, independent woman smokes. And tapping into, shamelessly exploiting, manipulating the whole, the excellent cause of the equality of the sexes and women's rights and the suffragettes. And they said sex, essentially. There's something very phallic and coquettish about the glamorous woman smoking the cigarette in films today. Films have done a lot to get our young people onto cigarettes. So yes, sex sells. The latest Coke advert I saw on a bus stop was a woman sat with like a turkey and 4 in the bukkake style, 4 phallic objects, 2 in each hand, like that, and the turkey breasts and the meat and all that. Now, you might look at that and think, don't be ridiculous, you're reading too much into that. It's not as insidious as it seems. It's not as blatantly using sort of brutal forms of sex as a selling tool for everyone to see on a bus stop. But ask yourself, these people get paid millions, and they have psychologists of advertising who constantly have the finger on the pulse of the best way to manipulate you into buying bullshit. Okay? They put a lot of thought into these things, a lot of thought. And I'm saying on YouTube now, where a lot of the adverts have to be 5 seconds, they put in a lot of thought. Why would they have a woman with her mouth open with 4 phallic objects? Why not cans of Coke? Why not big bottles of Coke? No, it's the penis, the penis shaped, penis roughly diametered. Well, if your penis tails off like that towards the end, I'd go to the doctor. But you know what I mean. Look out for it, and you will see it. So we basically have, if advertising were a person, we have a very astute psychopath who is constantly trying to manipulate you so they can gain personally. And a lot of the times it's sort of doublethink and blatantly obvious, like Vodafone's, catchphrase at the end of the adverts, power to you. What? It's just money for us should be the catchphrase. I'll close with this. It's that great Stuart Lee sketch where he's saying, actually, I'll close with two things. George Orwell said, "Advertising is the rattling of a stick in a bucket of pig swill." And he's not known for his stupidity. And neither is Stuart Lee, who said something. The Carphone Warehouse had for some reason been accused of being racist, and they issued a public statement saying this kind of outlook or behaviour goes against the values or the principles of Carphone Warehouse. And Stuart Lee says, cell phones, that's the guiding practical and ethical and moral principle of the Carphone Warehouse. Yeah, it's all spin and show, and yeah, I love "It's Alright Ma, I'm Only Bleeding," the Dylan song, the verse on advertising in that. Anyway, be on guard for it. Protect our young people from it. You can't obviously shield them from it, but you can tell them you could advise that they maybe watch out for it, and explain some of the mechanisms at work. I think it's naive to assume that these people have good intentions towards you or are a benevolent force. I'm not saying they're bad people, but I used to work in recruitment, and there were lots of really good people who, just to do the job and not get sacked, had to, or felt they had to, lie and deceive, And they know deep down in their conscience. I'm sure, they have, when they have some drinks, and I've heard this from someone actually who works in the kind of industry. After a few drinks, it sort of all comes out, Oh, what are we doing? We're manipulating people insidiously for our own personal gain and causing great harm. I think a lot of people don't see it because what's in front of your face is often the hardest thing to see. So they know this isn't particularly an attack on them, even though it sort of is because they're doing it. It's the process, it's the incentives, it's what the job demands of them, it's what the job is. And there are so many, maybe I'm just speaking out of bitterness, this particular thing, so many creatives who do independent, creative, artistic work and who make nothing, who could easily come up with compare the meerkat.com, but don't. No one's forcing them to stay in the job and earn millions from fucking up our young people. Anyway, I think I'll leave it there. If you like my videos, please subscribe. It's all available for free. My music is available for free under my name or my band, Cats on the Beach. My stuff is, people have said it's like Bob Dylan, early Bob Dylan, Nick Drake, Leonard Cohen-esque. The band sort of Radiohead meets the Libertines, which I know is a bold claim, but I said that to a PR company and they agreed. So it's not just me overselling myself. Over-advertising myself, you could say. But, yeah, it's all available for free. So please subscribe. Stay fun. Stay honest. Stay strong. And I will speak to you soon. Please feel free to leave me feedback or get in touch on all the various platforms, etc.